Estate Agency EAX, the UK's #1 estate agency podcast discussing the future of estate agency, entrepreneurship and business, hosts Mark Burgess and Rob Brady.
Right now, we've got 5 full-time members of staff, 4 part-time members of staff. We operate from Flintshire up in northeast Wales, and we have gone from sort of 2018, where we were struggling, survival mode. We charging like 1,500 quid fixed fee, selling around about 80-90 properties a year, £140,000 turnover, and this year we're on course to go to around 7 to 750 turnover. So yeah, it's all looking good.
I think clap a round of applause for that. Come on, yeah. And one branch still. That's the important part to it. One branch still. So he's not had to expand his area. Not he's had to move into a different new market. It's just him finding a better version of his market really out there. So I've got some questions here, but obviously if anyone wants to jump in and ask Ben any questions. So you mentioned like that 140, 50 grand turnover business, right? And how many people did you have at that time in 2018?
3 people.
3, yeah. And now you've got 7 full-time equivalents, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
5
full-time, 4
and also on the part-time ones, there's some of them are even
in South Africa.
South Africa as well.
2 VAs in South Africa. We've got Bridget, who's our onboarder, and Christian, who's our media guy, does all the video editing.
Perfect. So effectively you've gone from revenue per employee jumping from like 47 grand to 100 grand per person. It's almost doubling that.
Yeah.
So like, what's made that possible, and what's the difference in that to your business now to where it was back in that period of time?
Yeah, it's been a journey, to be honest, and we have had to sort of change the way we work, basically. So we firstly had to go down the route of learning who we were as a business, who Jill and I are as people, and what kind of business we wanted to evolve into. And that involved basically realising that after 11 years back in 2018, when I first met you, Rob, that I'd been an estate agent, but I knew very little about estate agency. So it was adopting a sort of curiosity, learning mindset, really going out there and educating myself on what's right, and then bringing it into my business. We ended up in 2022, August 2022, we ended up sort of going down the route of bringing in a whole new team. We realised that the guys that were working for us had served us well up until that point, but they weren't the right kind of people to take us further. So we brought in core values to the business, all based around the type of people we were. I brought those core values in, and then those 3 people that we had working for us at the time soon sort of left because they realised that they weren't the kind of people that we wanted in the business anymore. We then recruited all around our core values, our new what we'd realised to be our core values, and brought in a whole new team. What that allowed me to do then was step back, work on the business instead of in the business. Lee, who's our main valuer now, I at the time I was going out valuing and just not having any time to work on the business whatsoever. Lee came in, and it's allowed me to sort of step back and really put everything in place to grow the business.
Lee was a viewing person on a Saturday, wasn't he? That was like he had his own. He worked, didn't he? And
he was in recruitment.
Yeah, he was in recruitment, and then he worked on you guys on a Saturday doing viewings, and now he's like their main valuer. If you follow Ben and Keystone, like Lee, at some point, I think you said to me at one point, people were actually asking for Lee to do the videos over Ben, which is a great right in its own right coming forward, because it's like, okay, I've now succeeded. Now I've got someone actually to replace me. I don't have to be that face of the business as much as every owner thinks they should be. So really good. And also, Your South African lady, when we talk about revenue per employee and obviously the cost of that, so why did you employ someone in South Africa to do onboarding? Because you'd assume that like that would be quite a protected thing, and how does that work for you now?
It works brilliantly. I mean, the good thing about South African VAs is that they're on the same sort of time frame as us, you know, in terms of timeline. I think they're maybe an hour behind. And because it's a non-customer facing role, we again recruited around our core values when we were interviewing. All of our questions are not necessarily about their previous experience or skills. It's all about whether they fit in with our core values. It's the most important thing. And Bridget certainly, you know, did. We brought her in and it's worked fantastically. She works very closely with Jill, and she's been like a breath of fresh air.
So onboarding, what does that look like for her as a role?
So AML checks, bringing new customers on. So when obviously we have a new instruction, she'll get everything ready. She'll do the write-up, prepare the actual listing itself. She'll be in liaison with our video editing company, so that they can pass on the videos to her and just getting everything ready. And she's a proofreader as well. So although obviously now everyone uses like chat or whatever, or Air to do the property descriptions, you still have to read it over and make sure that it's right and it, you know, it's coming from Keystone.
Perfect. Okay, so you've talked about turning points in your journey. What's been the single biggest stage of growth since then, and why has it been so transformative?
100% when we changed the team. You need good people around you to grow a business. So as I touched on before, those people left. We brought in then Sammy, Beth, Sophie, and you know, and Lee as well. And once you bring in the right people around you, everything just gets a little bit easier. So that's definitely been the biggest shift. On top of that, identifying our target customer as well, because our fees now are at 2%, and to be a 2% agent, you have to learn firstly who you are as a company, what you stand for. Then you're looking at the kind of people that you want to work with, the kind of people that are going to like you, the kind of people that are going to identify with you, and then all your marketing is based around that. So learning changing the team and identifying our target customer, they're the two biggest turning points.
Easy then, yeah. Nice and easy.
Yeah.
Got a couple of questions up here. So, you've said to me before in the past that Jill, your wife and business partner in this, was a real game changer. How did the Business Accelerator program we work with, like, how did that help define the roles in the business amongst you two and all your team members as well?
Okay, so again, some of you might be familiar with the EOS system and a book called Traction. So one of the most important things in that book is that in a business, you need a visionary and an integrator. And when Jill joined the business, I quickly realised I'd found my integrator. Luckily, it was my wife. And I must say, it's been a game changer since she came into the business, because she came from a corporate background, Tate & Lyle. She'd worked with them for 10 years as a customer services manager. So she was able to come in, and all the ideas that I had as a visionary, it was funny because I used to go into the office with all these big ideas, and everyone used to go, "Oh, here we go again. He's down this road again." So, but since Jill joined the business, you know, she's got me back to start with, and she was able to sort of put the ideas that I was having into action. And you know, that's again been a big turning point.
Keep your shit in order, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, because I can soon go off the rails.
How many agents I speak to in coaching where they go, oh, I've got another idea, the team are going to hate me because I'm going to go in and start telling them it, isn't it? So,
and incidentally, especially when we adopted the core values with the old team, every single one of them hated change, and that was no good for us because the estate agency industry is changing almost on a daily basis. So you have to embrace change.
Yeah, they go hand in hand so well, like visionary integrator.
Yeah.
Like you can't have two visionaries in a business. If you are sitting there thinking, we're both visionaries, you've just got a load of ideas and you're just going to annoy everyone, and there's going to be no real direction. You're going to have all these ideas, and about 2 weeks later it gets fizzled out. If that sounds like you, then you need to think about your integrator. If you've got two integrators, then it's pretty much you're like, don't really push the boundaries and you're a bit more screwed because you're probably in the older ways. So really good point on that one. So you're now charging one of the highest fees in the area. You said 2%, yeah? How much of that came from getting absolutely clarity on that ideal customer? And how important is it for the right support in making it happen?
Yeah, it's...
Where were you at the start?
So it all came about, and a bit of a plug for the accelerator course. You know, during that course, we really homed in on who we wanted to identify with, who was our perfect customer. So we worked out that for us, and it's not the same for everyone, trust me, you know, Katie's in the room and she targets a slightly different client to us. Chris as well, he targets different clients to us as well. So basically we worked out that busy professionals that want an agent that just takes care of absolutely everything for them, a bit like me, you know, when I want something, I just want, just sort it out. You know, if I want a guy comes and cuts my grass now or does my hedge, and I just want it done, just pay him, sorted. And that's the kind of people we wanted to target. And getting clarity on that is so important, because then all your videos, all your marketing, everything is calling out that target customer. And what you do, you even sort of home in on, what are those people likely to relate to online? What are their interests? What do they like doing? In our local area, for example, you know, I might go and do a video like Street of the Month has been really popular for us. Not necessarily sort of directed at them, but we'll always put a spin on it towards the end about calling out busy professionals. And that has been a game changer, because when you're sitting down in the living room with someone, you're sitting in front of the right kind of person then that's going to relate to what you've got to offer. You know, the last thing we want to do is sit in front of someone that is just interested in fees. And
have you found that change? I know obviously you don't do so many valuations, and you've obviously got a team doing that now. But even the ones you maybe have gone out to now, have you seen that the conversation in the living room change in how they are with you based on what you've been doing?
100%. It's not very often now we go in front, we sit in front of someone and they're asking about our fees. And the other thing that I think is really important, something I've come to realise, and sure, probably some of you have realised this, it's quite far down on the list of priorities for somebody, the fees. The most important thing for anyone you're sitting in front of in the living room is the new house. They're already living in that new house. They've already visualised themselves. And all you've got to do is convince them that you're the person to get them into that house. The fees almost pale into insignificance, because, you know, their most important priority is getting from A to B, and they want an agent. If they want an agent that's just going to take all the stress out of them to go and do that, then Keystone's your agent. Simple as that.
And how many people do you hear in this industry say it's price and fee you lose your valuation on? Like, it's different, isn't it? There, different mindset shift. We've noticed, similar to people like Ben in our accelerator program, the perception is that they've maxed out and they've literally gone. Mark said to them, like, chuck another 0.5% on, chuck another 0.25% on, and they've just started doing it. Next day they've started to win the same listing at a higher fee with nothing changed in their marketing whatsoever or how they pitched it, just the confidence part to it.
The other thing to point out as well with that, the valuation team that I've got now, none of them have got any previous experience in estate agents up until when they come and started working for us in 2023. So not one had been in a living room before, and there's 3 of them now, and their conversion ratios around the 40 to 45% mark, which is phenomenal for someone.
And so on that part to it, so how do you get someone who comes to your business who's never had any valuation experience, never sat in front of someone's front room for a estate agency, to be out valuing with a 40% conversion rate? Like, what does systems, processes? How did you get that person in the first sort of few months?
Yeah, again, it's about going back to what I keep saying is recruiting on your core values, and then it's about having a process on the training, on how I train that team. We have weekly meetings, we go through everything, all the valuations that they've been on that previous week, just a continuous learning exercise. One of our core values is being expert. So I'm expecting them to be listening to podcasts like Estate Agency X, World Class Estate Agents Podcast, all fantastic platforms to just continue to learn, and that's the key, really.
Yeah, perfect. So some of the coaching that we've had the last few years, I wanted to sort of touch on lead generation.
Yeah.
Right. So we've got James Cocker in the room as well. So he's a big person on lead generation. If anyone wants to see him afterwards, but so many agents I talk to, they talk about sales qualified leads, valuations, and when I have a conversation about marketing qualified leads, your lead generation, it's just a bit like, it doesn't happen. And I have so many people trying to sales bombard people who are doing lead generation efforts. So you try and put up a lead generation tool, and then you hammer them like you would do with them trying to book a valuation in. So every time I've spoken to you, it's been quite a nice conversation, because you've said, when this is dropped, I've just turned up the dial.
Yeah.
So like, if you're able to explain what does that look like for you and how you've changed that in the last sort of few years in form of lead generation.
Yeah, so obviously social media is a massive part of that. We've got our instant valuations running. We've got heads up property alerts videos running, and we've got general engagement adverts running, all about consistency, by the way. Go on.
And so how many ads have you got running in one time?
At any one time, normally around about 6.
Yeah.
Different adverts doing different things. We've got our property videos that generally you get more engagement with them than anything else, because people are just curious. But again, it's about making them better than everybody else's. But getting them then in front of the right people via Facebook, Ads Manager, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, all the social media platforms. If anyone wants a good person to follow, Gary V, I'm sure some of you do already, but he talks a lot about it going from social media to interest media now. I'm putting out videos not just about property and estate agency, but about your local area and all the little things that people are going to be interested in. So it's about being consistent across all of those platforms. We've got Google as well, although, the way it's going, as we touched on before, that might sort of have to be looked at shortly. I think consistency is key.
I've noticed that as well. If anyone wants to see Ben's page afterwards, like Keystone afterwards, your heads up property alerts intro videos, although they're different properties, they're exactly the same setup. Yeah. Your pictures and how you do stuff exactly the same setup. How you do your videos, how you do your market update videos. It's a consistent approach to all of it. And I always use it as an example when someone's trying to think about how do I do my strategy forward. So like instant valuations and tools like that, what would you say on average you get instant valuation wise on a monthly basis?
Generally, I think it's around about 70, 80.
Yeah.
We do monitor it. We monitor everything. That's a massive thing as well. The scorecard that we've got now, where it just you've got to monitor the numbers. But yeah, generally on average, it's about 70, 80 a month across the different platforms.
Scorecard, what do you mean by that?
So scorecard we developed around about 2 years ago, where it just tells us all the metrics. So you've got your conversion ratio on that, you've got your exchanges, sales. I'm sure most people have got this. The predicted cash flow as well coming into the business, so you can sort of see where you're going with it. This is why we know we're on course for this kind of money at the end of this year. Just monitoring. And what happens then is we had a little instance where all of a sudden the instant valuations started dropping off. We're like, what's going on there? Now, because we were monitoring, we were able to go in, and what we did is revamp all the adverts. As soon as they start to drop off, revamp them all, back out there, it went back up to what it was before. But if we weren't monitoring that kind of metric, we'd never have noticed that. We probably would have ended up noticing, but 6 months later. So
and you wonder then, it's like at the edge of a cliff edge.
Yeah.
Shit, we haven't got any sales valuations, and
Exactly.
then it's a different type of thinking. It's quite interesting. I speak to a lot of agents, and the fundamental thing I always talk about in their marketing strategy is what's beyond the valuation metrics. How much of your marketing qualified leads metrics, what you're doing with those, how you're monitoring them, how you're improving them, how you're changing them. Because a lot of people just do the tangible ones of, I've had a call in, I've got a valuation, we've done 20, 30 valuations this month. But some of the things I used to say quite cheekily in my old agency before I became a sales lettings director, they used to say, how many valuations you booking? I'll go, what are we doing on marketing? And they used to get really annoyed with me. I'd be like, well, it's true. I'm booking the valuations in, but like, what are we doing on marketing? How much marketing are you doing? And they used to get annoyed with me doing that until I took over marketing. So it's such a vital thing to be monitoring. I've got one more question for you, Ben, before anyone else wants to jump any questions. You've managed to take out a 6-week holiday this summer, yeah?
Yeah.
And I remember back in 2020, in the middle of COVID, you had a heart attack, yeah? And I remember that call we had afterwards, just briefly afterwards, like you blasé just said I had a heart attack, and you was full of fucking stress. And you read that Ant Middleton book, wasn't it? Fear Bubble, right?
Fear Bubble, yeah.
And you've taken 6 weeks off, and the team didn't even bother him in that whole 6-week period. Like, him and Jill went away for 6 weeks in that. So, like, how have you created a business like that that gives you that freedom? Because I'm sure, how many people in this room could take a 6-week holiday right now with their team and just run the agency for you? Like, Ian. Yeah, Ian took 6-week running holiday, yeah? But, like, the amount of business owners I speak to for, like, a week, and it goes to shit, and they come back to, like, a fucking hell, right? And Ben got to a point where he was actually like checking his phone to make sure his phone was working. Yeah. And he said the business actually succeeded better with them being away. Like, how good is that?
Needs to go away more often.
Do more fishing, mate. So how have you achieved that? Like, how did that happen?
A variety of things, but like mainly having the right people around you, having the right culture within the business. So again, the meeting structure that we have on a weekly basis, we have we go through any issues that have come up, and we IDS them, so identify, discuss and solve. And in EOS, that's for leaders of the business. We thought, well, we're a small team, we'll just involve the whole team in this, and we're all sort of leaders then, in a way. And that's been gold, because while we were away, there were issues. Of course, there's always issues in a business, but they were able to sit down as a team, identify, discuss, solve, and didn't have to bother us. So we got to the point 3 weeks in where we were like, I said to Jill, I need to ring Lee and see what's going on. She goes, just leave them alone. Like, they haven't rung us, they don't need us, and all the rest of it. And we were like, is it still there? Is the business okay? Anyway, we kept on looking at a dashboard in life cycle, like 22 sales, 25 instructions, and we're like, well, this is brilliant. So, yeah, I think mainly to do with having the right people in the business. So, be consistent, be proactive, be an expert, and find solutions. The way we determined them was through the accelerator course. And again, it's about really looking at who the type of people Jill and I are, and thinking, what personality traits do we have? What kind of people do we want in the business? And what type of traits would we like them to have? And I think there's more to it than that, which obviously we go through in the program. But yeah, that's mainly to do with your personality, your personality type, John. Like, you have to think, oh, I want 10 Johns in my business. So what do I want them to do?
Get myself on that course, I think. The second one, so identifying your target customer. Did you do that again based on who you wanted to work with as in the ideal seller, or did you look at your demographic and think, this is probably the market share, this is who we need to be able to work with?
More down the route, John, of the type of people we wanted to work with, because I think there's always enough of those type of people. And when we identified it was people like us, busy people that just want an agent to take care of absolutely everything, well, that covers a massive sort of metric of the population anyway. So, yeah, I think you can look at both. Certainly, you can look at the demographic of your area as well. Am I right in saying with you, Chris, that you go down, you target probate people, or quite a lot of those? Yeah. Yeah. Because there's a lot. I'm sure you're saying to me that there's a lot of that older generation in the area, so naturally that was why you sort of gravitated towards the probate people.
That was in January, mate. Everyone has probates in January.
Yeah, so everyone's different, you know. That's the key thing. You can't just copy somebody else. You got to work out what's best for you.
One of the questions actually we had in the beginning of our workshop was exactly that. We all sell let houses. How are we different to the next competitor? And we had 10, 15 different businesses in the room, and everyone left that day with a different outlook on it and a different message. Like Katie, about to come on stage shortly, in our brand workshop, she had it, bringing colour to the grey world of estate agency is our key brand message. So they only deal with vibrant people, and our whole team's based on that sassiness of it all. Same with Ben as well. Ben's market is that busy professional. So like, you have to identify on that. Where do they go? Where do they shop? What brands do they like? And then align your business to that. I think everyone is perceived that they want to sell these $1 million houses and be on Netflix. But like, if your market doesn't serve that, there's no point doing that. You just need to find it. Like Avocado, all of the guys sell family homes, and that's it. Right, they wrote a fucking Amazon bestseller on it. So how much more can you get towards that alignment, that market?
You just touched on a really good thing there. Is so when we were looking at this kind of thing, we were looking at like different company outside the industry, different companies' websites, and how they identify with their perfect customer. Websites like Land Rover, Tesla, you know, and they all follow the same sort of blueprint. And this is why, and it's this, I promise you, this is not a plug for the accelerator course and all the rest of it, but it teaches you not just how to run an estate agency, but how to run a business. So I would feel confident now going into any industry. I feel like I could go and open a clothes shop and know exactly how to do it. Big point.
So I'll wrap it up. If anyone got any questions to Ben at lunchtime, grab him, or obviously at the network and at the end of the day.
Thanks for listening to this Estate Agency X podcast. Can you make sure that you're actually subscribed to this podcast channel if you liked the content? It helps us massively to get better guests, and it just helps us generally. So you might think you're subscribed, but just have a double check, whatever your podcast platform of preference is, that you're actually subscribed, and then that way we can continue to grow the channel and get better and better guests for you.